Are you wondering if your dog is too old to switch to a raw diet? If you've been asking yourself that question, you're definitely not alone. Whether your dog is 9, 10, 14, and they've eaten kibble their entire life, if you're wondering whether the switch is possible or you missed your chance, I'm hoping to walk you through that today. My name is Rachel Goldstein. I've worked around animals my entire life. My mom's a veterinarian. I was a vet tech for a long time. I've had dogs growing up. I have a senior dog. She's about 12 and a half or 13. So this is something I've done a lot of research on, and I want to see if I can share that information with you to help you make the right choice for you and your pet. So can your older dog switch to raw food? The first thing I'll say is this: age by itself is typically not the deciding factor. You're going to want to see, first of all, talk to your vet most likely, and figure out if your dog has any underlying health conditions, and just what their overall health is. So if your dog is generally healthy and your vet approves it, most likely your senior dog will be able to switch to, or at least to try to switch to raw food. Just as a caveat, even if your dog is able to switch to raw food, there's no guarantee that they'll tolerate it well. They might, and there's no reason necessarily that they won't, but every dog is different, so just keep that in mind throughout this video as well. I also want to get into just a little overview of the common concerns that I hear from people, because they're often pretty similar. One of the first ones I hear usually is digestion. They're afraid that their dog has been on one type of food their whole life, switching to raw food will make their stomach upset, or they won't be able to handle it, that it'll just be hard to digest. So switching to any food, whether it's kibble or raw food, can cause temporary digestive issues. This usually passes, and it's the main reason I suggest, and most vets and experts suggest, to transition slowly. This can help alleviate that concern quite a bit. Another primary concern owners have when they're thinking about switching to raw food is their dog's teeth. So as dogs age, a lot of their teeth, they can deteriorate, or they can have dental disease. Some have excellent teeth, some don't. So this is something that people, have a valid concern over. However, most commercial raw foods are ground and portioned appropriately, so your dog isn't biting into anything hard. They're not biting into bone. So it's not as if they're out in the wild chasing their own food and have to kind of break it down the way they would out there. It can be pretty easy to eat for most senior dogs, to be honest. If your dog does have issues with their teeth or dental health or dental disease, this is something you should definitely speak with your vet about first, because it might preclude them from being able to eat raw food for some reason. And then finally, there's the concern about any underlying medical conditions. So if it's kidney disease or pancreatitis or other digestive or gastrointestinal diseases, this is something that you're definitely going to want to talk to your vet about. This requires a more personalized answer that I can't really give you. And it's also why diet should never be taken in isolation. I mean, it has to be viewed as a holistic process. You have to look at the whole picture of everything. So generally speaking, one of the best ways to make this decision is to speak with your vet. And now that we've gone over some of the main concerns, I do want to go over some of the reasons owners do want to switch their dogs to raw food. So one of the main reasons for the switch people point to is protein quality. As dogs age, maintaining muscle mass can be a lot harder for them. They just typically lose lean muscle over time naturally. So getting adequate high-quality protein can help support their overall health. And it just becomes really important for senior dogs. The second is the ingredients themselves. Most commercial raw diets are built almost entirely around animal-based ingredients like muscle meat, organ meat, and bone. Those ingredients are the foundation of the diet and provide the majority of nutrition. And then there's small amounts of carefully selected vitamins and minerals added to make the food complete and balanced. Third is the raw food is typically lower in carbohydrates. So dogs actually have no dietary requirement for carbs at all. So many owners prefer a diet that's focused primarily on animal protein rather than built around other grains or carbohydrate-rich ingredients. Too many carbs can lead to weight gain, which in older dogs can then exacerbate arthritis and other health conditions. And then another reason is biological feeding philosophy. So a lot of people just want to use food that dogs would eat in the wild, essentially. They've been biologically adapted to eat these foods. So those are the main reasons people look at the raw food for their animal. And just keep in mind always that not all commercial raw food is the same. When you're comparing brands, you need to make sure it's complete and balanced, that the nutrition is good, check where the ingredients are coming from, check on food safety practices, manufacturing transparency. The goal really is just to find the right diet with the right balance from a company that you trust and that will support your senior dog's needs. So if you decide that you are going to transition your older dog to a raw food diet, there's a few things to keep in mind. The first is to take it slowly. You can't just stop what they're eating now and give them all raw food. It's definitely going to upset their stomach, and it's just not the best way to transition the food. So start small. Usually you can mix some of their kibble with some raw food, just to get them used to that food. I would also start with one protein and just keep things as simple as possible in the beginning. That way, if your dog does get an upset stomach, you have a better idea of what's causing it. Whereas if you start using multiple proteins, you don't. It's harder to figure out what's causing their upset stomach, and it's just an easier way to start in the beginning. Another important factor is to make sure that you're feeding your dog the right amount of food, because if they get an upset stomach and you think it's just because it's raw food, it could also be because they're being overfed. Commercial dog foods, the raw ones, aren't all fed the same way. The portion sizes are different. They calculate them differently. It's usually based on weight, age, activity level, body condition. And you just want to make sure that you're following the feeding guidelines. You want to make sure they're getting the nutrients they need, and that the transition is done properly. So once you figure out what you're going to start feeding them, you can monitor them, you can check their weight over time and just make sure that things are going well, and you can always adjust as needed. And then finally, one thing I personally appreciate a lot when switching foods is to make sure it's a transition-friendly brand, that it gives you flexibility, that it comes in the right format of food, whether it's meat patties or cubes. You just want to make sure that this process is as easy as possible for you. There's no reason to make it more complicated. There's several well-known brands that make this process pretty easy. We Feed Raw, Stella Chewy's, and Primal are some of the main ones. So I'll talk about those briefly. So We Feed Raw ships frozen meal-sized patties. They're already portioned. That makes it really easy to control how much you're feeding. They thaw in the fridge. It's a subscription model, but you can pause at any time. So these things make it really easy for you to transition. And if it doesn't work out, you're not locked into having a bunch of food delivered that you're not going to need. So that can be really helpful. And then there's Stella Chewy's that offers a variety of frozen raw food. So they do the frozen raw, they do freeze-dried raw products. Some people appreciate the freeze-dried raw because it's a little bit easier to mix them into the existing food when you're transitioning. There's also Primal. They offer frozen raw patties, nuggets, and freeze-dried recipes. Again, that gives owners a couple different options of what to use as they're transitioning. So no matter which food you're using, no matter which brand you're using, it's important to look beyond their marketing, ask certain questions about the food safety, the quality of it, just so you can make the best choice. We Feed Raw is the only one I've personally tried with my dogs, so I found it very easy to use. The subscription model was easy to use. I appreciated how thorough the quiz was when they were trying to go through and ask me questions about my dog and how to find the right food, the right protein. So I certainly don't have anything negative to say about the other companies. I just know that We Feed Raw was a really great one to use, and it was really good. So before you officially decide to switch your senior dog to raw food, there's a couple questions I'd probably ask myself, and just some information that is worth finding out. So some of the questions I would ask, is my dog generally healthy? Like I said, age alone typically isn't going to determine whether your dog can switch to raw food or not. Their overall health is definitely more important. Does your dog have any medical conditions like kidney disease, pancreatitis, severe GI disease, or other conditions that might require a specialized diet? Some dogs need prescription food, and whether a raw food diet can fit in there depends on what they're dealing with. Is your dog taking any medications or supplements? So some of these might affect appetite, digestion, and just how your dog responds to dietary changes, so it's an important consideration. What is my dog's dental health? If your dog has dental disease, it's really important to talk to your vet to see what kind of food is appropriate before making that switch. And then, are you prepared for a slow transition? A gradual transition gives your dog's digestive system time to adjust and helps reduce the risk of their stomach being upset. So just make sure that you're willing to be patient, consistent, and make sure that you make that transition appropriately. Some of the information you want to know is about whether it's a complete and balanced diet, what the actual nutrition is like, and make sure that it's what your dog needs for their stage of life. You also want to know about the ingredients and quality. Typically, you want to look for recipes that are built primarily around animal-based ingredients, muscle meat, organ meat, and bone, and make sure that it has essential vitamins and minerals in it. And then another really important thing to look into is the food safety measures the company is using. Find out what safety protocols they're using, whether they use HPP or not, sanitation procedures, what kind of quality control they use. And then related to that is third-party testing. Do they perform independent testing for contaminants, or do they just self-certify that their food is safe, essentially? Also, the information you want about product format and delivery, how's the food packaged, is it patties, nuggets, freeze-dried, what storage requirements there are. And then finally, just flexibility and customer support. You may want to look for a company that allows you to pause, skip, or adjust your orders, or that has customer service you can reach out to if you have any questions. Ultimately, every dog is different. You just want to ask yourself questions, get the right information, take it slow, and work with your vet to figure out what's best for your dog. So what's the bottom line? Can you switch your senior or older dog to raw food? There's no yes or no answer, really. It's very dependent on your specific dog. Like I said, any underlying health problems, teeth problems, any special diet they might need. So it's very fact-specific. The absolute best thing you can do is do some research yourself and then talk to your veterinarian to make sure before you take any steps. And yeah, I hope this helped a little bit. I hope it gave you some more information. You learned something, and now at least you know what kind of questions to ask yourself, what information to look for. So if you enjoyed it, give me a like, subscribe if you have a chance, and I'll see you in the next video.